Good morning, everybody. We are back. It is the right side of campus. We are live Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018. I'm your host, the big man on campus here. Donnie, it's 2018. It's official. We're in a new year. College football is just about over. What a day yesterday. A lot of bowls. Now we get the stretch run. College basketball, conference play coming up, NBA, NFL playoffs, all sorts of stuff going on. How you doing this morning?
New year, new me, Jeff. I figured with the way we do business, services that we provide, coming on SBR, I think I'm going to do a lot more parlays and teasers. New year, new me this year, Jeff. What do you think?
I agree. Nothing like buying half points and betting on teams you don't know about. That's the common goal nowadays, Donnie. Yes, it's time to switch it up. Three team teasers, 17 parlays,
Round robins.
round
Yes, come on. Let's
robins. Yeah,
do it.
amen. But we're back. We appreciate everyone tuning in today. Lot to do. It feels like we've kind of been in that. You know what the worst thing, Donnie. The only bad thing about Christmas is you kind of in that thing where you got that week in the middle where you're kind of all over the place. You got bowl games early on. You're betting early. I don't like that. I like I like college where you kind of have the whole day. You prepare for the night. You have the games at night. College kind of gets you out of your element a little bit. But we're back. It's regular. We invite you, like the show, hit the retweet button if you're on Twitter. Get the show out to people maybe they haven't seen it. And Donnie, it's important also all the time. People hit me up and they say, "Where can I bet? How do I bet? What do what book do you recommend?" I don't recommend any book. I recommend you go to sportsbookreview.com, check out all the books, check out all the ratings, see what book fits you best. Make sure you're having multiple books. With college hoops coming up, it's important that you get the best line. People say to me, "Do you buy half points?" No, I don't buy half points because I can go out and just find the line that I want to get, usually from another book. Um, you can't just have locals in this business, Donnie. You can't. Locals inflate the lines, or they screw with the lines. You got to have multiple books. Make sure you're getting the bonus structures. Make sure you can withdraw. Make sure all that stuff's acceptable, and you can get that by going on sportsbookreview.com. Make sure you're checking that out every day. Donnie, first of all, how was your New Year's Day? Did you do anything special?
No, I didn't do much. Went out and got the roast pork, threw it in the crock pot, had a couple sandwiches, a little sharp provolone there with the sandwiches. So it was nice, but it's
Nice.
still recovering. Again, Jeff, I'm an old man now. I don't recover as well. And I didn't even have a single cigar or drink on New Year's Eve because I was sick as a dog, just recuperating yesterday. But a great day to recuperate. I mean, most people had the day off. You get to lay around, you get to eat some food, you get to watch some games. So overall, it was a nice day for me yesterday, Jeff.
Yeah, one thing I have to always remember about where I live now is nothing is open, Donnie. I mean, in Philly, everything's open. Like you can go, it doesn't matter what day it is. As long, other than like Christmas, everything's open. Where I live now, like nothing's open. Like yesterday, like nothing's open. It's brutal. By the way, why is New Year's Day such a celebrated holiday? Like what's so great about New Year's Day? Do you? I never understood
I
that.
think because people are usually so banged up from the night before, like people can't even get in to open their stores up. You know what I mean? Back in the day, when in my different life, we were open on New Year's Day, and I was a little bit younger at the time, so I would go out New Year's Eve, me and the wife, or me and the pre-wife,
Sure.
so to speak. But I mean, it's tough, man. Just getting up in the morning that next day. A lot of people just take that one day to decompress and just hang out and chill.
Welcome into all the regular listeners, all the great people out there. Kay Zaga, thanks, man. That's very nice of you. James Ross, Nasty Nate, Guan White, Bruno Fizzle, Justin, Matt, Bruce Chad. Welcome in, Bruce Chad. All the people out there, we appreciate you chiming in today. Hit the like button for us. Donnie, we have a lot to talk about today. A lot of interesting things to talk about. Where we lived last night. We'll go over the morning headlines. Wildcard weekend coming up. Well, as always, hit the hardwood with me. Question is, Donnie, you a gambler? We'll hit that. Little interesting thing there. I don't know if anyone heard about it. And Donnie, we'll go back in time and start a new segment today. And we live one of the great episodes in one of the greatest TV shows ever. Just kind of a walk down memory lane, have a laugh every morning, Donnie. And remember what great TV was about 10 years ago. There's not much great TV on anymore, unfortunately. There's a couple shows. I know Billions you like. I like
Yes.
Billions. Um, Donnie, I know to this day, I know you haven't watched it. I don't understand because I know you. I'm telling you, I know you'd love the show. You haven't watched Power, and I don't understand why. You would love the show. I think it's right up your alley. And I'm not going to put you on a show I don't think you like. I don't know why you haven't watched Power yet, Donnie. What are you waiting on?
I don't know. Just my time is limited now. It's usually if I go upstairs and hang out with the wife and the mother-in-law. It's usually some Real Housewives nonsense, Bravo Network, Lifetime Network. So when I sneak down in the man cave, it's usually about sports. But I got some time to catch up on stuff like that. So we'll see.
Donnie, I've never put you onto something bad. I'm telling you,
Mm,
watch Power. You'll like it.
I
Look at
will.
Dale 04. Look, Donnie, Dale 04 is from Newcastle, England. Okay. He's saying Power is so good. He knows. Everybody knows. It's the greatest show on TV. Dale 04 knows. Justin Searcy knows. Donnie, let's jump into the show here without further ado.
Mhm.
We start out with the morning headlines as we always do. The coaching carousel, Donnie. We kind of mentioned this yesterday. A lot of openings coming up here. I mean, Bears, Lions, Oakland, which Oakland may be accounted for. Yeah, you're seeing people getting interviewed. Jim Schwartz, John DeFilippo, uh, Terrell Austin. I mean, and that's the Lions. I mean, what a weird team. Okay, so you leave Jim Caldwell, who has been a pretty good coach in the league, and you go right to your offensive coordinator. I mean, is he really any better than Jim Caldwell? I mean, really? I mean, w- explain this to me, Don.
Little Jim Bob Cooter action, like the most highly rated guy of all time. He came in, had like 3 good games, or it is
Yeah.
funny. In the coaching carousel that we talk about, so many people getting fired. The one that I like the best, Jeff, the one that I think does the least with the most, so to speak. And the quote today that came out again was, That's the farthest thing from my mind. I'm looking at getting rid of this guy." And that would be Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, who absolutely love Jason Garrett. And I say this with all sincerity, Jeff. I hope Jerry Jones signs Jason Garrett for like a 15-year, $100
Boy,
million deal, whatever it is. Just keep him on staff somewhere down there in Dallas. It's the greatest gift you could ever give a rival from the NFC East.
well, and he will keep him on because he's a mouthpiece for Jerry.
Hmm.
He listens to what Jerry says. He lets Jerry have his say. He lets Jerry make the decisions. He's really just a stand-in. I mean, Jerry can't be the coach, so he hires Jason and says, "Listen, everything I say you do. We'll pay you handsomely for it, and that's that. That's what Jerry does. And Jerry wants
Or
someone like that. There's
even
no
have the
one.
players run it too. Yeah, like look at like Des Bryant, right? I mean, it's clearly he's fading and he's fading fast, but he still thinks in his mind he's a top level, Julio Jones out there, which he's clearly not. But the best part about it is you don't get rid of Jason Garrett. So what's the news breakdown? Like, you know what? Des is not really a good wide receiver. We're gonna fire the wide receiver coach because that was the problem with Des Bryant. It's great down there, isn't it?
Yeah, I had to love. This was kind of lost. We never really mention this because of the holiday and things like that. But Christmas Eve, Donnie, when the Cowboys were playing the Seahawks, dude,
Mhm.
one of the funnier things is when you saw Dez on the sidelines whining about not getting the ball. They get him the ball the next play and he fumbles,
Fumbles.
and
Yeah.
and the camera goes right on him, and he's just like, you could
He's
tell he
chilling
wants
on the
just
bench and sitting down, and
yeah,
like he's getting
got
like
nothing
pep
to
talks
say
from
all
like
of a
Cole
sudden. Yeah.
Beasley. It's just it's amazing. And they're saying like, well, maybe Des Bryant should be cut or take a pay cut, and he's just like, nope, no pay cut for me because I still think I'm that good of a wide receiver. I mean, it's pretty fun. I mean, it's a great soap opera down there, which never seems to end.
These wide receivers, man. I mean, they're interesting characters, I'll tell you that.
Sure.
Donnie, SEC, the SEC. How about that? All the talk yesterday about the SEC was this, the SEC was that. They can't cover anybody. Defense is overrated. They can't move the ball. Look at who's in the final. Alabama and Clemson. SEC. What do you got to say, Donnie, right there on this?
Yeah, I mean, the Alabama Georgia lines up, and the word like it's funny because I don't really care who ends up. I just want the two good. I just want a good football game. And you're going to get a good football game, but there's a lot of haters that just look at like ESPN, like all they do is push the SEC. And how funny is it, Jeff, that now you are
Well, there's a
going to
reason.
have a final? Yep, you're going to have a final now. That's Georgia, Alabama played in Georgia. Does it get
Right.
any more SEC than this football game? So if you're a hater of the SEC, you got problems this next week coming up, man.
But it's like these other conferences, they're always whining, "Oh, it's SEC, SEC."
Beat
Well,
them.
then beat them. Right. Don't go
Exactly.
1-8 in the bowl games. Don't,
Yeah.
so beat them. I still think, Donnie, I would have liked to have seen, and I know, this is a conversation for another day, but I would have liked to have seen. I want a more an 18 playoff. I would have liked to have seen Wisconsin,
Mhm.
Ohio State even. I would have liked to have seen those teams. Hey, even throw in UCF, see what they could have done, which we'll get into here in a minute.
It'll
Donnie, you
get
have
there. It'll
this.
get there. There's so much money, Jeff, in the bowl season. We've been through this the past 20 years. It's funny because like the student athlete is what they like to call like the D1 player, and especially in
Yeah,
football. The before they even made the playoff, the whole thing was, well, we can't have a playoff because it takes them out of class. And I used to get like the real student athlete, Jeff, is the Division III player, the Division II player, the FCS player that a lot of
right.
these guys aren't on full scholarship, but those guys can have a 2014 playoff and they're not going to miss class. Like I played Division III football. If we played in a playoff game, Jeff, we get on a bus. If you want to bus to Mount Union, from New Jersey and go 8 hours, like these guys they fly out on a Friday to play on a Sunday and come back. What class time are we missing here? Amazing. It's funny.
Donnie, we a lot of the time we talk about everything that we're going to talk about, but this is one that we didn't talk about, and I have a feeling we're going to get into a little argument here. Uh, Alabama Clemson start time. Let me guess, you had a problem with it.
It's ridiculous. It's
Well, I mean, Donnie,
absolutely
you have to remember,
absurd that game starts at 9 o'clock
but
on New Year's Day.
Donnie, as always, though, you failed to miss the point here. We argued about this during the World Series, where there was it was extra innings. I mean, what are you going to do? The game went to overtime. It was a high scoring game. The first game, it went to overtime. I don't think legally they can start the game before the other one. I think in a game like this, plus they're on the same network. I mean, what are you going to? You're not going to kick the game off. I mean, it sucked. I hear you, but unfortunately, it was just a. You probably should have did like a 4 o'clock and an 8 o'clock. I'm not really sure
Yes,
why it's
that's
on
what
at
I'm saying.
5:30. I don't. I
Correct.
never understood the Rose Bowl. I don't know why it's on at 5:30. I don't really get that. Plus, I mean, look, they didn't think it would be, what was it, 52-46. I mean, no one thought it'd be that high scoring, and overtime's always a possibility, but no one thought it would happen, especially with how the game started out. I mean, no one thought that. I don't think anyone thought Georgia would make a comeback, but yeah, listen, it was late. I hear you. I mean, what do you got on this?
What's the interesting part is, Jeff, we don't have normal jobs, as I like to say. Like me and you live in fantasy world where it's great. Like we work with a great company. We talk sports all day. We can wake up and sort of set our own pace. I don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to go anywhere. You know what I mean? We check in. Some people,
Yeah.
like the hardest day of the year is most people normal. I'm not normal, Jeff. You're not normal. Like I don't half the time I don't even go out on New Year's Eve. I'm just watching TV. Me and the wife on the couch. Yeah, Happy New Year. We go to bed and wake up the next day. But a lot of people go out party the night before, and you have that recovery day on New Year's Day. You're banged up. You just want to lay around in sweatpants. It's a tiring day. But most people have to wake up the very next day and get back into their daily flow. Wake up at 7 a.m., get in the shower, get in their, car, take the train in, sit in traffic. They're tired at the end of the day. And it's egregious. Like you should have started one of those games 3:30 in the middle of the afternoon, and then the night game. And also, Jeff, the night game, it's not even like you're saying, well, you know what? It's USC in the final. So we'll put them at 9 o'clock. West Coast, they're going to
Right.
watch it. It's 6 o'clock out there. These were two East Coast teams playing down in New Orleans. Like, what were we doing
Well,
with that? It's
here's the thing,
crazy.
Donnie. Luckily, it was a good game, so it was kind of over at halftime anyway. But yeah, look, I agree. I mean, the starting it at 9 is too late. I mean, especially with the fact, like you said, there were no West Coast teams. You have to start it earlier, 4 o'clock, and most of the time 7:38. I mean, maybe if they didn't do 8,000 commercials for the game
Or
and
Jeff, or
promoting the
like an
game at
hour
6 hours.
halftime. Like, what are we doing with these Nobody gives a damn about the band. Like, you start the game late, and
No,
then you're just
I
going
know.
to run out both
That, that
bands at halftime. Come on.
that's been a wild problem with college football. The half times are way too long. It's the only sport that has like a half hour overtime. In college basketball, it's literally 15 minutes. And it's 15
12 minutes
minutes
for the
right at the
NFL.
whistle.
Yep. From the
Right. It's
last
like,
guy walking off the field at halftime, the NFL starts a 12-minute clock. You can get up, you can get something to drink, you can get your bed in, and you're ready to play football right away. I don't know where I guess in the 1940, like, oh, it's a nice day out. But these games are supposed to be boxed in the TV. And the fact that TV allows like a 35-minute halftime is just egregious.
yeah, it's again trying to make stuff relevant that we just don't care about. listen, I've mentioned before, I love watching the bands down at, Alcorn State and Grambling, those kind of schools. But listen, I mean, to be fruitfully honest with you, we don't see the bands anyway, and none of us really care about seeing them from Clemson. No one cares about the bands. I mean, we don't see them anyway. And then we
The
got to,
band, like they're
hear.
great in the stands. Like they're great in the stands. You score a touchdown, you hear the fight song, the cheerleaders, the color guard, they're singing in the stands. That's the pageantry. Not like, ooh, we're gonna get our 20 minutes out here. And then the other band has to go and everybody has to clap and the players. I mean, come on, man, cut that out. Let's go.
No, for once on this topic, I do agree. For me, though, I didn't care, and I think a lot of the fan bases they're going to stay up regardless. But
Yeah, they
it didn't hurt that it did hurt that it was so late. I mean, this has always been a problem. Some of this stuff, and a lot of it has to do with the long half times, all that kind of thing. Donnie, we move on. We relive what we saw yesterday in the bowl games. All the underdogs seem to come in. I feel like. At least early in the day. Michigan, South Carolina. Donnie, is it surprising at all that Michigan didn't cover or even win the game? What a gutless team Michigan is. I mean, the fact that they were actually laying points was amazing to me. This team stinks. They can't move the ball. They're not well coached. It's time to put up or shut up. Jim Harbaugh needs to be, vilified for his crap. I mean, he's not a good coach. He's failed time and time again. The decision making has been poor. I mean, yesterday the decision making to kick a field goal, down 7 with 4 minutes to go from. I mean, if you don't make the field goal, which field goal was long. I mean, it wasn't like a 25-yarder. You missed the field goal. The game's pretty much over. Jim Harbaugh, again, I've mentioned it before. We have to start talking about Jim Harbaugh. He needs to be put on the microscope more. He's not been a good coach. He's failed in all the big games that they've had. And people are pissed off. I mean, I don't know if you saw the comment from Amani Toomer, a former Michigan receiver. He voiced his problems with Jim Harbaugh on one of the radio stations. What are you thinking about Jim Harbaugh at this point?
And I mean, it's funny. Like I remember, I bet a couple Michigan games while Jim Harbaugh's been coach there. The one interesting thing, Jeff, is first of all, I don't know if you can give a guy like a psychic evaluation because it's pretty clear to anybody. I'm not sure, like if you work with Jim Harbaugh on a date, he just seems like he's out there. Like we've all had bosses, friends, people that teachers, where when you engage in a conversation, you're like, I'm not so sure this guy is all together with it. I know he loves football. I know he knows football. But how many times have you seen Michigan over the years, Jeff? It's almost like Jim Harbaugh, Jeff, doesn't coach because there's a scoreboard. It's like he doesn't even know the time or the score and just goes on like a feel for what he thinks is right. There's so many times in the past where it's been like, games that he's blown out, like versus Maryland, up 35-0 or 38-0. Fake punts on 4th down and 4th and 2. Fake punts on 4th and 7. Not going for the field goal and just going for a late touchdown when the game is meaningless or out there. When you watch Jim Harbaugh coach, it's apparent. Like, even get down. I saw the tweet yesterday I put out there. Wearing the headset with 2 earpieces, the 1940s looking glasses, the Michigan hat that I don't think anybody's even had for 50 years that he wears, the khaki pants, and just even the way he claps. It's just something is not there, but they pay him damn near $10 million a year. And they put the side-by-sides up there like Brady Hoke, almost the identical record. And he was run out of town as a fool, but yet Jim Harbaugh is like legendary all of a sudden.
Yeah, you got the same record pretty much.
Yep, pretty
Hoke
much.
and him have the same record. Toomer was quoted as saying, Donnie, to me, that's not a supermodel. That's Paris Hilton. That's somebody who's giving us nothing. But oh well, we're going to Rome. We're going to wear Michael Jordan sneakers. I don't care. I want to beat Michigan State. I want to beat Ohio State. That's the passion I have for this program. I'm a frustrated fan. I think what we wanted and signed up for was Nick Saban or Urban Meyer. We signed up for someone who was going to come and change the culture. I mean, he had a great first year. First year, so excited. But last year, he had his best team and they lose to Ohio State. That's a heartbreaker. He's totally right. And the fact that you cannot win the big games has really gone by the wayside with with Jim Harbaugh. His brother, him, they've been fairly overrated. I know they won a Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl, John. But I mean, look, other than that, they've been largely overrated.
And
Uh,
whiny personalities too, which makes it even harder to
yes,
watch.
okay. I can't stand Jim's personality. He's brutal. He's a lot like me, though. Honestly, he doesn't want to take any sort of advice. He's a type A.
Or Jeff, how about
staying
going
at a
back where you're supposed to exchange a goodwill depth chart between yourself and the other team, and he puts like names from like 1930s, like Dick Butkus and stuff on there. I'm like, that's just him to a T right there. Like never giving anything out, never telling you anything. And he's supposed to be the quarterback whisperer out there. Like, I went to Michigan. I was a quarterback. I could talk to these guys. Why do his quarterbacks one after another just straight suck out there?
Oh, he's a horrible talent evaluator at the quarterback position, and he's going to ruin Shea Patterson. That's a shame. Shea Patterson's a great quarterback. He's going to ruin that kid.
Yeah, what
Donnie,
makes
I
it? Yeah,
will
exactly.
credit.
That's a good point on that.
Yeah,
Like Shea Patterson, half his battles are won because he's athletic and get outside the pocket. What have you seen from Jim Harbaugh? He's probably going to like have like a dog choke collar that electrocutes the quarterback if he tries to make a play outside the
what
pocket or outside his.
what is it with these hardballs in this weak, boring, vanilla offense? We don't want
They
to we
want to
don't
be
want to
both saying,
run.
I want a fullback. I want a fullback with his hand in the ground. That's the offense I want. Yeah, it
He's
looks
the
great out
only
there,
one.
brother.
Right. Yeah, yeah. By the way, I will credit Jim for one thing he's done for me though. I watched an interview with him about a year ago. He was with the Pardon My Take guys, Big Cat and that other guy, and they were interviewing him, and he brought out they were in his office, and he goes, "Hey, you guys want to try something?" Jim said, and they go, "Yeah, what do you got?" He goes, "Let's have a glass of milk." Like he's like this big drink milk guy, and he brings out
Yeah.
this milk, and he talks about how the milk is full of like nutrients and stuff. It's like a really high powered milk, and at the time, like I had like a lack of B12, vitamin B12. And my doctor's like, "Yeah, you gotta get more B12 in you." And I'm trying to find options. And he was talking about how great this milk was. And Donnie, I've drank the milk ever since. It's like fantastic milk. I do credit him for that. It's called Fairlife. It's very good. I often recommend it if you want the milk, good kind of milk, good kind of milk.
Now, Jeff, getting back to
Donnie,
Harbaugh before we
yeah.
move on there, does Harbaugh look for a professional football job or listen to offers? Because, I mean, he's been linked to the Indianapolis job like 75 times already.
Uh,
Like,
I
is it a
don't think he
perfect
will.
escape?
I mean,
Like Michigan would say, like, whew, we got out of that big contract. The fans could take a deep breath and get somebody else in there. Or it's Harbaugh just like, you're going to have to cut my head off to take me out of Michigan because I love it so much.
I think that's what he'll do. I mean, he's from there. He went there. I don't think they're anywhere close as a group to getting rid of him, but at some point they're gonna have to consider. No, I don't think he's going anywhere. He's tried the NFL. Why would he leave Michigan? He gets paid a ton. He obviously like is obsessed with it. Listen, I love the
I don't know.
football
Yeah,
guy.
I was just throwing it out there. I don't know. Like, I mean, it's a lot of money. He's a Michigan guy, a Michigan man. I get it, but sooner or later, though, I mean, is it going to wear thin? Like, does he get one more year, and is he just going to stomp Ohio State? Like, with Ohio State doesn't run out of weapons out there. So until I see something out of like, is Shea Patterson going to come in and miraculously dominate that football game?
Did you ever know that his son coaches on Michigan too? Jim's son. Did you know that?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I'm not. That
Did you
doesn't
know that?
surprise me one. No, I
He's the
didn't.
running backs and assistant special teams coach at Michigan. They're like the Sterators. They're all refs. Harbaughs are all coaches.
Yep.
Pretty weird.
Yep.
Harbaughs are like the Kennedys. They have like literally hooks
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yep. Yeah. Like they're like
Fucking hell.
the brother and the two brothers coach against each other, and the dad's got to come down and take pictures, and it's a big deal. They're almost like the Watts. Do you see the Watts the other night where the mom, of course the mom had to get in on the TV time too. I'm going to make this jersey with like 19 different teams on it because they're all my boys, and then we're going to have we're going to go down the field. I'm going to have JJ throw some passes to his brother TJ out there to make sure the cameras get it. I mean, come on, you're going to get me on a tangent now, Jeff.
Dude, the only good person out of the Harbaugh family is actually the guy that was married into the Harbaugh family, Tom Crean. He's the only thing good about that family, and he's a bit of a weirdo also.
Yeah, he's a
Uh,
weirdo too.
Crean
Yep.
is
Can you imagine
Crean is a
that dinner,
freak.
the Harbaughs and Crean at dinner? Jeez, man.
Dude, the best memory I ever have of Crean, and then we'll move on. Do you remember when Christian Watford hit the three against Kentucky? It was like 5 years ago in Indiana, and they beat Kentucky. Kentucky was number one at the time, and it was literally a buzzer beater. And they the shot goes right to Tom Crean, and Tom Crean makes the weirdest face at Christian Watford, like he's like unbelievably surprised. And it was like I have to send you the video. It's a classic
It was
Tom
at it
Crean
was
moment.
at Indiana, wasn't it? It was at
Yeah,
Indiana.
yeah. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like
I've
one of
been to
the
the game.
great
Yep.
like
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
You're
it
right.
was like they ran down the court, he pitched it off, and, like, Watford shot it, and they look at Crean, and Crean just makes this, like, "Oh my god" face and, like, walks over to Calipari, and it was just funny. But let's move on here. We relive also, Donnie, a couple other things yesterday. UCF, how about that? They plant the flag. Great call by you, Donnie, or by not by you, but by the
Mm,
listeners. I meant to say. I
oh,
think we both
wasn't me.
agreed Auburn was the play. Great job by you to mention the comment on planting the flag. Yeah, UCF yesterday was impressive. I mean, what else do you say? I thought Auburn would be more athletic. I thought they'd be faster. I thought everywhere on the field they were better yesterday. But Stidham, unfortunately, couldn't hold on to the football. That was a big problem with him. And, look, I mean, when you turn the ball over, you're not going to win a lot of football games. And Auburn was beat at a lot of different positions. Scott Frost says, I'm leaving, but I'm going to come back and coach, and we're still going to beat you.
Mm.
I don't know if Scott Frost will win at Nebraska. It'll take some time, but he's going to do some good things there. He put it that way. And UCF for 1 or 2 years, they're in glory. Now they head back to mediocrity. And that's again, Ani, why I've mentioned this to Drew Martin. He mentions all the time about how he doesn't think Scott Frost should leave. Scott Frost needs to leave. He needs to go and try to win and win something. It was a shame yesterday that after everything, undefeated season, they still couldn't have a shot at the title. That's what Scott Frost wants. He wants to do that kind of thing. He wants to go and win something. He can do that at Nebraska. He can't do that at Central Florida.
No, you're right. It was a great game. And it was one of those, Jeff, where you're watching where UCF's like, oh, they're hanging around. They got the lead. And then you sort of felt that tide was going to change where Auburn ties it up. You figured they're going to go ahead. And now the times they take control. But UCF played them straight up, man. Mackenzie Milton was great. You're right. You can't turn the ball over. And I don't want to hear anything about the SEC saying, well, UCF was up for that game and Auburn didn't really want to be there. That's bull. That's bull. That's a January 1st bowl game. They're up and ready to go, and that game's played in, SEC territory, as we like to say. That's a great win by UCF. I didn't expect it because it's one of those times, Jeff, where you get the sort of outlier program. Yep, we go fast. Yep, we play well, but we don't really face this type of defense or skill players where we're faster than everybody, and now we're going to play a team that's faster and bigger than we are. Credit to UCF, credit to Scott Frost. It was an amazing football game by UCF. I didn't think they would be. I mean, compete is one thing. Did I think that UCF was going to get beat by 30 points? No. But I thought Auburn would just wear on them. That double-digit victory, I didn't think was going to be that hard to get for them. But UCF was great yesterday. Bright future for them. Hopefully they can. And again, it's all going to be hinging on Mackenzie Milton. He's a really good football player. He's going to be around for a while. So good for UCF, good for Scott Frost. And again, if you're a Nebraska fan and you care about Nebraska, getting a good football coach here.
Can he get Milton to leave Central Florida? That might be an interesting thing to watch, Donnie. Why? Why not? A lot of coaches leave
Yeah,
when
I
they leave.
guess you
Players
could, but
follow.
uh,
If I'm Milton, I would consider it. Milton's not from Florida. He has no connection there.
Hawaii,
He's,
right? Any Hawaii kid?
yeah, I believe he's from Hawaii. Yeah. If I'm Milton, I would consider it. Go to a big time program. He is the guy. I mean, what does Nebraska have there? They have no quarterback.
That's
Um,
true.
I, Scott Frost is a guy you want to look out. There are going to be some kids that'll leave that program and follow him. A lot of kids do it. Mackenzie Milton might be your starting quarterback next year at University of Nebraska. I would definitely leave if I was him. But a nice win. If you had the money line for people was one of those things where Donnie, you do it, you take a chance, and if it hits, it hits. So
Yeah.
congratulations. I don't think anyone. I don't commend you if you had it because you did it just to do it. But great job if you did it.
Yeah.
As far
That's a
as
paycheck.
next year, I'm fading UCF all the way to the bank. Agreed, Donnie. They're not going to be 0-12 next year, but there's definitely going to be a huge drop off next year. Uh,
I don't know
Epic
though. If
Rose.
you're looking though, Jeff, like if you're going to
Yeah,
fade them in that conference, what are you looking up for? Because Memphis loses a lot, and Flowers is gone from USF, so it might be a
I
down
think.
conference overall for them, right?
Yeah, I think Houston will be back though. Houston comes back with some
Yeah,
talent.
Houston will be
I
good.
think
Yeah,
I think Temple will be probably the team that people are looking at. They found a quarterback. They have a good
yeah.
defense, as we know. They're well coached. They do a good job there. Temple might be your favorite there next year, but
Navy
AC,
always be ready.
yes, sure. Navy brings back Malcolm Perry. Great point. Let's get into the Rose Bowl. Rose Bowl was fantastic yesterday. Georgia goes down early. Everybody writes them off, including myself, because listen, it's hard to not write them off at that point. You're down 17 points. You haven't been able to stop Baker Mayfield whatsoever. But Donnie, you know what? I was talking about this game. I did a little betcast on my own channel, and I was talking about Baker Mayfield was awful the second half. I mean, he was terrible in the second half. I mean, other than that fumble recovery for a touchdown, I mean, they didn't do anything on offense. I mean, he was all over the place throwing the ball. They sniffed him out. Georgia, I don't know what they did at the second half, but the adjustments by Kirby Smart on defense were something legends are made of, and that was legendary what he did at halftime. I haven't seen a adjustment like that in a long time. They were a totally different team in the second half. That was impressive. Fromm looked. I mean, Fromm was making reads, Donnie, that I didn't think he could make. I mean, that was really unbelievable what I saw to Georgia in the second half.
Yeah, it was rare that you're able to recover in a game like that because as soon as they ran that, reverse sweep pass to Mayfield to go up 17 with like a minute to go or 50 seconds to go, it was kind of like saying, "Oh my God, like this game probably should be a blowout." Even I tweeted out like, "Let's hurry up and get to the second game," and then you see like the coaching mismatch. I want to say, Jeff, because the squib kick after the touchdown to go up 17, which gave a little bit of life to
Weird.
Georgia, and I didn't still think it even mattered at that point. He hits a 55-yarder, which takes it from 3 scores down to 2 scores. And still, Oklahoma is still getting the football. But you're right. They went at halftime, regrouped, and said, look, nothing is working what we did. I mean, we're running the football at an unbelievable clip for Georgia. But somehow we don't want to run the football, which was baffling to me in the first half. But the defense that you're built on, I mean, we watched a lot of Georgia football this year. Everybody, Jeff, every play they called for Oklahoma, if you blitz, they threw a screen. Everybody was wide open over the middle. The running game was working. Nothing Georgia did could work. And all of a sudden, you get to the second half kickoff, and they 3-and-out Oklahoma. They score. They 3-and-out Oklahoma again. And even though I thought Georgia was going to get run, I took a live bet after they were down 7. Right after that play, Jeff, where I think Baker Mayfield took the knee in the ribs, which wasn't really a cheap shot. He was pushed in, but don't get it twisted. That guy's knee was going right into his ribs on purpose, knowing that he got pushed. And from that moment on, Georgia just mollywopped them. You're right. Outside of the fumble that was returned for a touchdown, Oklahoma didn't do much, went right into overtime. And if you had that +3 from Oklahoma, boy, that's a tough loss in overtime, Jeff.
Yeah, I just was really impressed by what they did defensively. They were all over the place. They sniffed everything out. Pitches didn't work. Reverses didn't work. Nothing worked. Everything was slow developing. And, Baker Mayfield was humbled in the second half, just how it goes. It'll be interesting to see. People have asked me what do I think on him long term. I've made it clear I don't think he's going to be a high level quarterback at the next level, but we'll see. Sometimes they surprise, but I just see a lot of Johnny Manziel on him, and I think he's kind of a bit of a he's a bit of a weird guy as well. He's kind of got some weird character issues. Kind of reminds you. I mean, Donnie, does he not remind you like perfectly of Manziel? I mean, everything he does is like Johnny Manziel. The way he plays, the way he acts, the way he is off the field. I mean, every little thing he does, you have to hear about. I mean, you see him on the silence talking. Something goes bad, he cowls up. You don't see him. He is. They better get
Yeah,
a
he's
hold of him.
like,
He is.
he's got
He is
like,
just
he
like
seems like always
Manziel.
has like the half shirt on. He's always got the
Yes,
bandana on. He's got the
the
hand warmer. And
bandana.
whenever
Yeah.
there's a big play in the game, like let's just say you go out for the coin toss, they pan to him and he's sprinting down the sideline, getting the crowd hype. And then you go to overtime and they do the handshake and he's sprinting down the sideline again, getting the crowd hyped. He's screaming at his team on the sideline. After every play for the other team of the defense is on the field, he's on 2 knees. He's bending down. He's got his head on the ground. I mean, it's always something with him. And even in the pregame warm-up, like you go to, and put it this way, Jeff, the camera. He knows the camera's on him. Walking into the stadium, he was holding a freaking sign. I mean, what is he doing? It's entertaining for me because I don't have any hate for the guy yet because he doesn't play against any of my squads or anything. But it always seems like that chip on his shoulder is fake, that he needs to keep on putting his own chips on his shoulder, which is funny to watch.
He is one of the biggest clowns in the business. I'm just saying, he's a complete moron. If I was his coach, I would say sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up. Right? The sign, what the fuck was that about? That whole sign thing? What was that? I
I
mean,
don't know. I knew you would like
I mean,
that one.
really. And I get, give people like Roquan Smith credit, guys you don't ever hear from, don't ever talk about. They just go and make plays. He was very quiet in the second half. I didn't hear much from him,
I mean,
but he is
he
a
did have a good
key.
football game, but the fact that like slighted, we're not ready to be here. Jeff, last time I checked, like he won the Heisman Trophy, so I don't think he got slighted too much, did he?
No, and look, the kid's got talent. We saw it. but he needs to shut the fuck up and just play. None of those people, none of those kids that talk all the time, none of them ever work. It never works out. There was a kid down a couple years ago, Marshall Henderson at Ole Miss, a basketball player,
Oh, yeah.
one of the better
He was
one of the
a
better
nut job,
basketball
man. He
players
was
in the
fun. He
country.
nut job. Yeah. Yeah.
But the kid never shut up. I mean, he's always talking. He's always got a big mouth. All those guys, they never work. He's always, you just let your game do the talking, Donnie. And if you don't see that Baker Mayfield is not going down that path of Manziel, I think you need to open your eyes a little bit. He might be even worse, Mayfield. I mean, I remember Johnny being on the field, with the whole money thing, that kind of thing. But I don't ever remember him. He doesn't talk as much as Mayfield. All I see is Baker Mayfield on the sidelines crowing to other people. And he has had off the field issues. I mean, it's not the first. I mean, it's not like he's been a priest off the field, Donnie. I mean, he's had some of the issues. They better ring him in and just let him, you know, let him, do his thing. Don't get too high on yourself there, cause
Isn't he like
I'm a
28
tech.
too? He's like Chris Wenke's age heading into the pros, it seems like. How long's Mayfield been around for in college football?
Uh, a while. He's 22, by the way. And we also relived, Donnie, the fact that Cliff Kingsbury did not think Johnny or Baker Mayfield was good enough. Let's remember that.
Yeah, that was always a an interesting one there, yes.
The worst coach in the country. I mean, how he is not vilified for that, it just makes little sense to me. I'm a Texas fan. I hate Baker Mayfield, but he's a phenomenal talent. Of course. How could you not agree with that? He's a great player,
Yeah.
but he's a punk. Punks don't usually work. Let's move on. Bama dominates. We don't got to go down this road too far. Um,
No.
Clemson, the game plan wasn't good enough. They played pathetically. It was early. I think it was evident that Alabama felt slighted a little bit, and they played like it, Donnie.
Yeah, that was Alabama football to a T, Jeff, to a T. I mean, look at the offense, try not to turn it over that much, play some nasty defense, be opportunistic. It played out well. And I guess, I didn't see the second half, but I woke up early and it was on the replay, it was on ESPN, so I was able to watch. Clemson still, how poorly they played. First play of the second half, they get the fumble in the 20. They basically go backwards, but end up with a field goal. Then they get the next drive after stopping Alabama, go down. They get that, the running back misses the blitz pickup and it turns into an interception, which is a horse collar. And it was pretty much all downhill from there. But Alabama was Alabama last night on defense. I thought coming into the game, Clemson would have the better defensive performance. I was wrong. I mean, Clemson's defense wasn't shabby by any means. I mean, they played well enough, that defense, Jeff, Clemson, to win the football game. But the fact that Alabama's defense was so dialed in on what Clemson was doing on offense was kind of shocking to me. 24-6 outcome. That's just Alabama football. I thought Clemson would be ready to play in that football game and make some plays, and they weren't.
Totally right. Michael Robinson. I'm from Oklahoma. Mayfield isn't even close to Johnny Manziel. How? How is he not? I mean, he puts on this act every time he does something dumb. He knows it's stupid, but he does it anyway. Then he puts in this, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do it. I was just really emotional." You don't you don't do that shit. He's not a fucking kid. He's a man. You can't do that sort of thing. You don't run from the police. I mean, just off the field stuff. And he's a punk. He's a punk. Everybody knows it. Everybody's too afraid to say it. He's a great player, but sometimes you, as a quarterback, you cannot be that way. You have to bring yourself in. You have to reel yourself in. I understand he's a kid, but he's not a kid. He's almost 23 years old. And that's going to be a problem at the next level. They don't want that. Coaches don't want that on their team. And he's already behind the eight ball because he's not big enough. His hands aren't big enough. There's a lot of things that he's not as big enough as. So he needs to bring that in. And we can chalk it up to him just being immature. But as far as Baker and Johnny, I don't think it's that far off, Donnie.
Yeah, I mean, there are similarities there. I actually think Mayfield's a better overall quarterback with the way he plays there. But, you can look at size, stature, arm strength. It's about the same on both of those. I think Mayfield does a little bit more than Manziel does, maybe more cerebral, as I would like to say. But you're right. I mean, it's the same type of player heading to the NFL. We'll see where he gets drafted or what his combine numbers look at. But that's going to be debatable there because the kid wins and the kid is a gamer. But that doesn't mean you can make all the throws and play from the pocket in the NFL either.
Also, word of wisdom. You don't run from the cops. Get caught, you get caught. That's how it goes. Donnie, NFL wildcard. We won't spend a ton of time. We got all week to talk
No.
about this for sure.
Yeah.
NFL wildcard coming up. Will LaShawn McCoy play? That's a big question all of a sudden. Bill's not getting much respect, and I actually agree with it. I think they should be the pick in this game. I think Jacksonville's a little green around the gills on both sides of the ball. Just not in play. They don't have the playoff experience. They're a great team, but you wonder, has that defense last couple weeks been a bit exposed? I think they're still a very good team. We have to remember they still have Blake Bortles a quarterback. They still have a a limited group of playmakers. I mean, they don't have a ton of guys on that team that can make a ton of plays. They've had a great season, but this Buffalo team's motivated. They're excited. Obviously, they're well coached. McDermott's gonna have some time to prepare for that defense. I think 7 points is a bit too much, but it's gonna be big. I think LaShawn McCoy plays. I don't think there's any way he doesn't play. Donnie, what do you have on the NFL?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, you're looking at all across the board, Jeff, at those 4 games. We're going to have some fun this weekend, releasing some information on some betcasts that we're going to do to have some fun. But looking at these 4 games, Jeff, what you're not getting a lot of is respect for the road teams. I mean, you're looking at Kansas City in this game laying, 9 points, 8.5 points versus Tennessee. Then you're looking at the Rams, which opened up at 4.5, 5, now up to 6, 6.5 in some spots. Jacksonville, same thing, Jeff. You're looking at 7.5, almost double juice. A lot of outlets showing -9 plus 100. And then going down to the New Orleans game, opened up around 6, now looking at 6.5, double juice in some spots. So it looks like odds makers in Las Vegas, Jeff, not giving the road teams much respect coming into this game. It's a shame. We talked about it, again, Jeff, the Buffalo-Jacksonville game. Shady McCoy, I mean, he has a chance to play. Come on, man. He left the field on a stretcher with an ankle injury. It would take a miraculous recovery, just for him to play in that football game. He's a gamer. And don't be alarmed, folks, if you see like Shady's going to give it a go this weekend. All of a sudden, you want to bet the Bills. If you're betting the Bills and you like the Bills, try to cap this game in this situation without Shady McCoy, how they're going to handle this. Even if you're looking at a total in this game. If you're hearing stuff like, oh, Shady McCoy's going to practice, he's going to try to give it a go, try to take that out of the equation. Say like, oh, I'm going to jump this line because Shady McCoy is going to play in this. That's not going to have a factor in this football game. I don't think Shady is going to play that well into this game where it's going to matter to Jacksonville. But if you like the way Buffalo operates, does their business, and gets it done, try to take Shady out of the equation. But yeah, talking about, resting teams with an edge and doing all that stuff here, that's going to come into play because we saw last week, Jeff, Tennessee, Jacksonville. Jacksonville didn't rest, but they're coming in, with no break, heading right into it. Flip side there, Jeff, Kansas City and the Los Angeles Rams. Both of those teams rested their players. Kansas City actually picked up a win with resting their players, now heading into that environment. Same thing with the Rams. We'll see how those teams head in because Andy Reid, Jeff, would say what you want. He's pretty good when he's resting players coming off a bye, and he's got some pretty good playoff success, especially in round one. The interesting one's going to be Jeff McVay, first time in that spot. Goff, first time in that spot. The Rams, a relatively young team. How do they handle getting the rest, Jeff, and then playing in the playoffs this week?
Dominic Sacchero, Saints will win. I agree.
They should win, yeah.
Dell 4, Rams are pick of the week. Good call. Also, Reagan Womack. I don't know what this guy's talking about. I'd be hauling ass. First of all, here's why you don't run. Okay, if you commit a crime, here's why you don't run. First of all, by running, you admit you're guilty. You admit you did something wrong, and you admit that they have a reason to chase you. You go to court, you say, you know what? Okay, take me in. Do what you got to do. I'll get a lawyer. We'll beat this case, and that's it. You don't run. It makes you look weak. It makes you look guilty. And if you run,
might get you shot.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. You don't run. It's a dumb idea. Hey, listen, you play in dirt, you're going to get dirty. That's how it goes. Real G's don't run. You sit there, you get handcuffed, you go to the cops, and then
and then you say, Jeff, while you're getting handcuffed, you tell them that your lawyer is so good that you'll be working in Alaska tomorrow. That's what you tell the cop.
Donnie, there's a guy around my area now. I think I've told this story before. There's a guy about a year ago in my neighborhood that he got arrested. He was supposed to be a drug dealer. And when he got arrested, he told the cops, I can do 5 years standing on my fucking head. That's what he told the cops. And he said, good luck finding my money. Good luck finding my money. He goes, I'll be out so fast, blah, 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 blah. Good luck finding my money, blah, blah, blah. You know what they sentenced him to? 50 years he got.
Oh,
he was crying and he was crying like a baby at the sentencing. Settle down, Rogan Womack. Settle down. Rogan's all over the place today. Yes, exactly, Quan White. Good point. Let's Donnie get into some other things here today. We hit the hardwood. Actually, we got Donnie. Why don't you tell everyone about the betcast? You want to talk about that today?
Yeah, here's what we're looking to do this weekend, trying to scrounge up a few things. I know it might be tough this weekend because Gabe and Ian will be out of town in Vancouver this week, but me and the big man, we'll get together on at least one of these football games this week. Throughout the playoffs, wild card round, divisional round, championship weekend, and probably the Super Bowl as well. We're going to try to, because it's very popular, as you see. I mean, coming on, we're not going to do a normal, Sunday afternoon where we have 12, 15 games, whatever it would be, the way we used to do the closing line, 12 to 1 o'clock, get you ready for the games, pop on at halftime. Then me and the big man come on at night to prep you for the night game, and then also Gabe and Jeff would usually do the betcast at night. Since we don't have that opportunity, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to try to get, teams here at SBR still going over. It's early in the works, but almost like brands. Like me and the big man will do one game. Maybe Low Shack and the Bag will do another game. Gabe and Ian will do one game. Maybe even the round table will come together and, talk some shop for one of these football games. It's going to be a lot of fun this weekend, but we're going to change a couple things up here at Sportsbook Review. And I think it'll go over well. We'll have a lot of fun. We'll be doing some in-game wagering, talking about the game live. Also, hey, drinking, having some cocktails, because it's a laid-back thing. And you're looking at what, Jeff? 3.5 hours. We can have some fun. We'll even talk some college basketball. We'll talk about the game coming up next. We'll have a lot of fun. So keep an eye on SBR when you see a couple of things pop up. You'll see some good programming this weekend, and we'll have some fun with it, fellas.
Settle down, Donnie. I'm the betcast king here. All right. Everything goes through
I'm
me.
going to have to include, yeah,
Right.
you're going to have to be on it, Jeff. We might just have you
Uh,
go back-to-back games for a nice 8-hour run.
no, I can't do that. But no, it's a good idea. Betcasts are fun.
Yeah.
We have fun with those. Obviously, doing some, in-game wagering, some second half stuff. And you watch every play, so everything's more magnified. You
Yep.
know what I mean? I actually would like to do a betcast with you, Donnie. I don't think I've ever done one with you.
No, we'll set
Donnie,
it up this weekend because go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead, finish it up.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, well, me and you'll definitely link up on one of these games. Again, there's 2 games on Saturday, 2 games on Sunday, same thing, divisional round, and then there'll be 2 games, obviously, on that championship weekend, Sunday, and then the Super Bowl. So we'll try to have some fun with it, match up some pairings that might not usually be on, but look for that. It's a lot of fun. I know a lot of people like that, too, because it's only one game on. Come and hang out with us. Shoot the shit with us. Like, we watch, and I made sure, Jeff, because the good thing is, with the DVR box, Jeff yells at me saying sometimes I'm faster than he is and we can't enjoy it. But Jeff, I'll put it on pause until you tell me the go of what you have. We'll match it. It'll be synchronized perfectly for us, Jeff.
Scott K with the comment of the day. Donnie, would you be able to stay up late?
That's it. Yeah, that's right. See, I might have to
Good
choose,
comment.
Jeff, the 1:00 game on Sunday. So yes, he's correct.
That was funny. Scott K coming out of the woodwork with that one. That
Yeah,
was
what
a
happens
good
if I
one.
just
Good
did
call.
off halftime, the 8:15 Saturday night game like Jeff? It's getting around 10 o'clock, man. I'm gonna dip out here. You all right?
I got to get out of here. I got to go. Donnie, where are you going? I got to get to bed. It's late.
Yeah. It's
9:30.
late, man.
But all right, we move on, Donnie. Let's do hitting the hardwood quick, and then we'll finish it up today with some final thoughts.
Yep, couple basketball games here that we wanted to take a look at. 2 games here on the docket, Jeff. I think it would be pretty interesting. We'll keep it right in rotation for you today. 5:13, 5:14. Butler and Xavier tonight, Jeff. About 500 tickets have been tracked offshore. 54% of those tickets, Jeff, are leaning towards the Xavier Musketeers at this time. Line opened up at 7. Hasn't moved, though, Jeff. It's 7 across the board right now. Over-under opening up at Pinnacle at 154. And also Chris opened out at 156. So a little bit of disparagement there. Hanging around right at 155, 155.5. Jeff, Butler, Xavier, what are we looking at?
Yeah, this is a tough spot for the Bulldogs here. Off a win at home against Villanova, a team that they just have their number. I mean, they've largely been a thorn in Villanova's side over the last 2 years. Now you got to go on the road and play Xavier, who I mean, Donnie, I think it's time we start giving Xavier a little respect. I was never a huge X guy, but I mean, you look at some of their stats, some of their analytics. I mean, they're really impressive. And Xavier comes in here, I mean, on fire offensively. And Butler, they have not been good on the road. They're 1-5 against the spread away from home. Listen, Hinkle Fieldhouse has that feel to it. It's a great place to watch a game. It's a historical spot. But the truth of the matter is, they just have not been very good on the road. They're only shooting 40% on the road. Defensively, they've had some issues. And now you got to go face a Xavier team that's extremely efficient. I mean, amazingly efficient. 51% from the field, 87 points a game. Defensively, they've been good. And Donnie, you look at some of the stuff that kind of you don't normally look at if you're a sports fan, but I urge you to look at it. They're out rebounding their opponents by almost 8 boards a game. They've owned that advantage on the glass, and they are the second best foul shooting team in the country. 80% from the field. Late in games, laying 6, laying 7. You got to be able to hit free throws. This might look like a bit high of a line, but I look for a 10-point win here from Xavier. I think this is a tough spot for Butler off that win over the weekend. Now you got to head on the highway, a place you haven't been good all year. Xavier is a very good against the spread team. They're one of the better teams in the country. And all year, if you want to make money, I'd highly recommend betting on Xavier. They do a lot of the little things well.
Next up here, Jeff, 561, 562, 9 o'clock Eastern time tip. It's going to be Texas Tech and Kansas, Big 12 battle out there. 50-50 ticket split, Jeff, so far coming in here. Line, again, opened up identical to that Butler-Xavier game, 7 across the board. Over-under opened up at 149 at Pinnacle, 147 at Chris. That line currently sitting at 149 across the board. Kansas, Fog Allen Fieldhouse. What gives here tonight, Jeff?
Yeah, these teams played each other in Lubbock last year in the second game of the season, in the second game that they had in the season, and it was 80-79. But you look at the other game in Allen Fieldhouse, 17-point win. There's some injuries right now that Texas Tech has had to deal with. They pretty much own Texas Tech over the years, not only at home but on the road. But this is one of the better Texas Tech teams we are going to see. Chris Beard has a great defensive group here. They're only giving up about 58 points a game. The pack line D they play is similar to like Virginia. Really make you work for your shot. You have to be pretty good in the half court. I like Kansas more in transition. They're a very efficient offensive team, but they have some question marks in the post. That's a problem. You have a Texas Tech team here who's a veteran group. They're 12-1. They're going to be a team. This Big 12 done. I think you're going to have great games all year. In a game like this, I'm interested in the points. This is a Texas Tech team. This is their best team they've had. They remember all the beatings they've taken in Kansas. I like Kansas a lot, but I think they're going to win a lot of close games this year. I am concerned a bit about their front court with Uzubuki. He's a great player, but he's a pitting for foul trouble. Sometimes they get him in foul trouble. They don't have Billy Preston yet either. The Sousa is still green around the gills. And I like this Texas Tech team. I think they're an experienced, well-coached, really good defensive team. That's going to play a big part tonight. Tony, they're giving up 58 points a game. It's going to be interesting to see how they play against such a good offense. I look for Texas Tech, though, to keep it close. 7's a lot of points. I'll take a lean with Texas Tech.
It'll be a lot of fun tonight too, Jeff, because as football winds down, usually I'm capping 10 to 15 games a week. Obviously, we only have 4 games this week, and that's what it's going to continue the rest of the year. Start to get into my flow here, taking a look at some of these basketball games. And I'm not going to pick your mind too much on a few of these early, but games like I like to look forward to, Jeff, I enjoy. Even like the Drexel NC Wilmington game, but also 563, 564 Manhattan versus Marist. Going to really start to get involved in with some of my favorite basketball conferences tonight. -4. Is there a game off the grid, Jeff? Just like something that maybe most people wouldn't pay attention to, whether it's IUPUI, Wisconsin, Green Bay. Is there a game out there that might have your eye off the radar tonight?
Yeah, I think you actually mentioned it. 539, 540. UNC Wilmington is awful this year. I mean, Kevin Keats left. This team is in ruins right now. I mean, they're giving up 85 points a game, and I actually think Drexel is a team that you down the road. I think you got to keep a lookout for. Drexel is a team that Zach Spiker's come in there, and he's really he's that young coach that you could see down the road being one of those storied coaches in Philadelphia. He's a young guy, starts out at a small program, kind of like Fran Dunphy did at Penn. They've won some games this year. They're 6-8. I mean, that's for Drexel standards pretty good. Beat Houston early in the year, which is impressive. They have some players that are pretty decent. Sammy Mojica, Tremaine Isabel. This is a decent basketball team. UNC Wilmington done a 0-9 to the number this year. Haven't covered a number yet, and you're laying points. UNC Wilmington is just not what they once were. I think the public will massively overrate them maybe in this game. This is one of those games that you look at and you say to yourself, Drexel stinks. UNC Wilmington, all I got to do is win at home. Give me them. Don't be surprised if Drexel goes on the road and gets the job done here tonight. +2, that's an intriguing game to me.
Not interesting there. Yeah, I know we're always under time restrictions here, but we had some pretty good topics we want to fit in here, at least spend a couple minutes on, Jeff. We slide it down. Are you a gambler? And yes, that is spelled correctly. If you're not sure what we mean by this, true gamblers, Jeff, always bet games, especially parlays, with a lot of money, even though they're not even sure who's playing or what type of sport they're even betting on, Jeff. I want you to lead this one off. Give them a background of what we're talking about if you are a gambler out there.
Yeah, there was basically a story that came out. We meant to get to it last week, but obviously with the holidays and stuff, we just didn't have enough time. But there's a story that came out by the USA Today about a week ago. It was written by a guy named Josh Peter, a journalist for the USA Today, and it was basically a story about talking about this kid named Rob Gorodetsky, who I've heard of. I don't know if you have, but I've followed for a long time. He's on Instagram. His name's Big Rob Style. He's one of these guys that posts all these big tickets and he bets all this money on these games. And so this guy puts out this article that was massively underreported. I mean, he did no work as far as reporting on anything credible. And it was basically a story about this kid and his experiences day to day and how he's changing how gambling is and how he bets 200,000 on NBA summer league games and how he shows up models and he's just a fat Jewish kid from Chicago and he's college dropout and just the comments that he was making. I mean, it's just pitiful, really. You look at some of these comments. He bet on a game one time. He didn't even know who was playing. It was just, I don't know how he made the decision on who he would take. It was a college game. He mentioned
And the
that
best part
he
about
didn't
it,
know
Jeff, was saying
any.
he doesn't know the teams. It wasn't even like it was like a one double A team. It was like I think he used like Colorado State and was acting like he didn't even know a player on the team. It was kind of funny.
Right, and then he's talking about how he's such a seasoned gambler and he's so good at sports betting. He's talking about how he sends out parlays and teasers to his clients, and he's so rich, he makes all this money, but he's on Instagram whining about paying him $500 to give out picks, and he's the new age entourage, and this guy. It's just this is the kind of people that are ruining this business for people like us and all the people out there that are doing good in this business. People like this guy who no one's ever heard of. He's probably some trust fund kid that gets money handed to him. Listen, I know the general consensus is by a lot of people, my parents pay for me to live. That's what people say to me all the time. They don't. I mean, I know people think that, but people like this guy who clearly know nothing about gambling, and then a guy like Josh Peter write this article, just underreported. I mean, you got quotes in here from Steve Fezzik from Vegas Dave. I mean, what is the credibility of those two? I mean, you're better off asking you know, Billy Walters from Pensacola Prison his feelings. I mean, at least go do a little reporting on this stuff. I mean, this is horrible journalism. This is not good written articles, and this is something that's destroying this business off of these Steve Stevens types, these guys that you know nobody knows who the hell they are, but they come out of the woodwork all of a sudden and are big time gamblers. They don't know shit about anything. I don't think anyone backed up any of these stories. It's just this
Yeah,
journalist was
I
got by
think
some
that I think
kid.
that's always the problem too, because it's sort of like I mean, whether or not public perception is reality, it's like that one of those black eye punches where it's like, if you let's just say, Jeff, if you were a teacher, right? You really cared about your students, you wanted them to do well, and then they put out a published report where this teacher says, I have tenure and I don't give a damn what these kids learn, and I laugh all day long and I just let them stay on their cell phones. It's like a black eye because like you're asking like this guy is the gambling future. But then the quotes and stuff are coming out are basically saying like, dude, I don't even know what I'm gambling on. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, the whole premise of the article, if it was written by like The Onion or you just trying to have some fun or kid has so much money, he just wants to see if he can like play slot machines and win money. That's what it sounded like to me. But it was almost like staged as like, here is the future of gambling. Take a look at what it is. And it's not. You know what I mean? Makes a mockery of everything.
No, you're totally right. I urge people. You know what's amazing, Donnie? I mean, nowadays, though, this is what people like to read. I mean, people like to read this stuff, and the general lay person will read this and say, "Wow, what a great thing sports betting! This is interesting. Maybe I can be like
Or
this
like that,
kid."
yeah, or they should never allow sports betting. Like, what's this guy talking about? This is so reckless and dangerous. It's like the drug war in the 80s. Just say no. We can't have gambling. Look what they would do. People would be betting their
Yes,
paychecks on parlays. Come on, man.
right, right. We can't do this. This is negative. We can't have this in our streets. Donnie, we got a minute or two to go. We wrap it up
Yep.
today. A new segment here. Just kind of reliving great TV that we talk about TV all the time on the show, Donnie. I mean, I urge you, if you've never seen these shows, you might not want to listen to what I'm going to say, but we relive, Donnie, funny moments and funny episodes from great TV shows like The Sopranos. Donnie, season 2 episode, it was called Funhouse. I don't know if you remember this episode. Basically, Tony is battling a sickness. He goes to a Indian restaurant. He gets sick, and he basically throughout the episode is dreaming and then coming out of a dream as his wife and the doctor kind of evaluate him. And he basically, towards the end of the episode, he has a dream about Big Pussy, and he has these problems and concerns that he's a rat possibly, and he sees Pussy on the boardwalk reenacted as a fish. Do you remember this episode, Donnie?
Yes, I do.
Uh,
Absolutely. I do. It was like the whole
and
Billy Bass thing was pissed at, right? The
Sure,
thing that like
correct. He
they
like
sung on the wall? Yes.
yeah, he walks up to
Somebody
the
got him as
he
a
walks up
present, right?
yeah, Christopher got it, I believe, or no, his kid got it. AJ got it for him, I think. And he walks up to the fish, and the fish is basically it's got Pussy's voice, and he's like, I'm working for the government, Tone. And it really just kind of, you know, shows Tony that he's gonna have to kill Big Pussy, even though and you can relive Donnie. We remember when they go down into the boat and they're standing there and Pussy's to the day lying about what he was doing and where he was, and then he basically just says, you know what, you know, can we have one more drink together? And they talk about how good friends they were. And it's really kind of one of those episodes where it's very poignant. You remember he was a great character, Pussy, really interesting
It
character.
was.
And they have to kill a friend, someone that they trusted, they loved, and it to me was one of the better episodes because it goes
Yeah,
out. I was always a
it's not a good idea, Jeff, when somebody comes to your house in the winter and is like, "We wanna take this boat out for a ride. You wanna come with us?" And it's not gonna end well, probably.
Right, that would be another high level thing. When someone when your friend comes to you and says, "Hey, listen, it's 6 degrees out, but we gotta take the boat out for a spin," you might not wanna do it.
Think about
But
buying a new
yes,
boat. Come and take a spin with me. Sure, Tone, sure.
and it was the final episode of season 2, I believe. Very good episode. We relived Big Pussy, Bop and Sarah, one of the best characters in the
Yep.
show.
People were
Uh,
devastated he had to go. Jeff, devastated.
and the last comment I'll make today, he made the comment, Donnie, uh, you know, one time under the table, she jerked me off. He goes, never wore panties. And he's like talking about some woman that was, and then Tony goes, hey, Puss, did she ever really exist? And
Yeah,
she,
yep.
they find out he lied about
Just not in the
everything. But
face, Tone. Just not in the face. Yep.
yeah, will you give me that? You were like a brother to me, for all of us. All right, Donnie, that's it for today. Always fun. Appreciate all the listeners. Thanks to Wama for producing the show. Tomorrow, Roundtable will be back for that. That'll be fun. Everyone have a great day. Bye bye.